Hey everyone, welcome to the Fargo 3D printing show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. That's right, the points are just like the MakerBot Martha Stewart colors.
When did we start doing points? I've never received points.
Points!
Well, fine. They matter to me now.
Points for being here. Everyone gets 250 points.
All right.
I think I realized halfway through that, like, what you were referencing.
Can we redeem them for like little plastic whistles and
you can redeem them for filament points.
Marvins.
Okay. Oh, little Marvins? Little
yeah.
3D printed Marvins?
Yeah, we could do that. I like filament points because then you can just redeem them, kind of like you do with Chuck E. Cheese stubs.
And the cool thing about points is they're usually part of a game. And speaking of tabletop games,
where were you this weekend?
Yeah, so this last weekend we had a booth at something called DCon, so DCon Fargo. It's their first gaming convention. So tabletop gaming, video gaming, kind of a mix of everything.
I think it was put on by Red River Gaming or Red River.
It's the same. It's put on by the same people that do CoreCon.
I'm not actually sure about that.
That I am positive.
You're probably okay. I talked to a guy that works at CoreCon. He said that it wasn't, but
well, maybe it was a subset.
Splinter group. I'm guessing.
I think
there's some similar people involved.
The underworld.
Because CoreCon had a booth, like they were a vendor at.
No, I think they're probably a lot of the same people, but I think it is a separate thing. But that's not really that important.
Yeah.
So I was actually there Friday, and then I kind of just felt it out.
You got first place in the Mario Kart?
I got first place in the Mario Kart tournament.
Oh, nice.
My favorite character is Roy. He has a funny voice. This is Mario Kart 8, by the way. I'm a big fan.
I'll bring in the N64. And
I'm not good at it because I tried it recently. It's so different. I was really good at the DS version, and then it translates pretty well. There were only 3 people in the tournament because it was just not Friday night was not really well attended. It sounds like Saturday was a lot.
Saturday there was a solid group there. I was there, had the booth set up on Saturday from about noon to 6. And there must have been about 250 people that went through there. So I mean, it was
for that sort of thing. For a first time event, and I know it wasn't ever advertised extremely well.
Yeah.
It sounded like a positive
for Fargo.
Yeah, and for Fargo, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I was when I was there.
It's a very niche thing, or at least most of the time, you don't know about it because people just do it on Tuesday night,
right?
At someone's apartment or whatever.
Yeah,
it's not like a boat show.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, these are the kinds of people that it's hard to get them to go out and do stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say in general, I'm a bit of a gamer too, but not as serious as some of these guys.
Well, I feel like it was just your Paradox Comics.
It was a very core kind of group there.
Oh yeah, like everyone knew everyone.
Price was a little high for a first time event.
I didn't go. So what did you see? What did you do? Because you brought the Lulzbot Mini.
Yeah, so I brought the Lulzbot Mini and a few 3D prints.
This was printed on the Lulzbot Mini.
Yep. So that was actually printed. There. That was printed at the event. So I had the printer going because there's a lot of people that make whether it's scenery for their tabletop games or actual figurines and characters and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people out there that use 3D printing for tabletop gaming. I'd say the biggest thing is for landscape and buildings and that kind of stuff. Then you can sand it.
Yeah, hexagon pieces for like Catan or
right, and then paint it, do post processing, make it look really pretty. Because I mean, if you think about your your Warhammer stuff,
it's expensive. It's very expensive.
And the amount of time people put into painting that stuff, it's the same type of people that end up. That would paint a 3D printed object. And I had multiple people come up to me during the day and ask, oh, so how much is the 3D printer? Like $6,000? I said, well, no, this one's $1,350 because it's it's the Lulzbot Mini. And they said, oh, wow, I've spent way more on that on, insert hobby X here. And a lot of it would be, oh, I've spent more than that on X-Wing miniatures or just some other expensive hobby like archery.
RC cars.
RC cars, yeah. I mean,
I was into that for a bit. And 3D printing is going to be big for that, too. There's actually an open source remote control car.
Yeah.
And they're like, it'll never work. And then the guy, it just has a bunch of the naysayer kind of comments. And then you just see the RC car just...
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, so I mean, it was fun. I mean, talking with that many different people and talking about how they would use...
Jason Hoy uses it.
Yeah. Jason Hoy
for the RC cars.
Yeah. He's I think he's our biggest fan on Facebook. Yeah. So he likes a lot of our stuff.
Well, his stuff's pretty sweet.
Yeah, no, he makes little miniatures. Like you can make the characters that sit in the car. Like there's a Predator or like a Terminator. Mm-hmm. Ozzy Osbourne and his wife Sharon.
Sharon! What's the vacuum cleaner running, Sharon? Sharon! Anyway, continue.
So some people will make actual figurines for their games. I mean, the printer that I had there, you can't do super detailed Warhammer 40K stuff, but there are companies out there that specialize just in creating those types of miniatures. There's a company out there called Hero Forge, where you can actually customize your character. You know, so it's like a 28mm scale character, and you can customize it, and then it'll be printed out not in an FDM style printing process with the, you know, where you take plastic and melt it, but it'll use SLA. So that's where you have the resin and UV cures. You have a much smoother surface finish. The material costs more, it costs more to print, but you have a much smoother part.
Well, you get more
much
detail.
better detail. Yeah, yeah, and you can
That's the big thing.
and you can just do some geometries that you simply can't do well at all with FDM. And I mean, if you're thinking about some of the costumes that these characters would be wearing, I keep hitting the mic. If you think about the it's just
hit him. Every time you see him hit the mic, just hit him.
eye for an eye.
Negative points.
But I mean, so like on some of the stuff, I mean, think about like just all these different spiky costumes and headdresses
Fangs and like
fangs.
chains hanging
I mean, you
around
can't do that with FDM.
Dragon wings.
Yeah, but SLA you can do
you could
that.
do it, but it would be the worst cleanup ever.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you'd lose a lot of detail. In
You'd
that
end up.
process.
It would turn more into a sculpting project than it would.
It's like, how long do you want to grab?
project.
You know, have the little pliers out and the sanding and.
Right.
More than an hour, no.
So
Right.
I looked at some pricing. Like, it's not bad. I actually had a friend that did it for another. Like, my friends play D&D on, I don't know what day, Tuesdays or something. But I think I guess 28 or 30 millimeters high is like a $25 one. 3 inches.
It's not bad.
3 inches. I don't know what it's printed in a hard plastic, so I don't know if that's still SLA.
Yeah, it's SLA.
But it's $80 for that, and then 6 inches is $245. I guess just for the volume and print time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, because
That's a more expensive printer.
Well, and I mean, it's an interesting business model because if you have a lot of people that are doing the 28 or 30 millimeter scale parts, you can fit a lot of those onto a build plate.
Yeah,
so I mean,
yeah,
you can run maybe 10 of those jobs at a time.
well, it's like our CJP machine. I can fit. You know, you can fit a bunch of different things inside of one another or nest them.
Print cube.
And then for one print queue, you can just do.
Yeah. Well, in SLA, we really need to get an SLA printer in here, like actually in-house, because it's an interesting print process. It's that much different than FDM. We know a ton about FDM. SLA is something that, I mean, technically, it's just like when we were first learning, or at least when I was first learning about 3D printing, absorbed a ton of knowledge. So I had a pretty good idea of what I was getting myself into, but until I bought that first printer bot kit and put it together and started printing with it, then all those concepts became that
yeah,
much
you just
more
need
concrete.
time on it. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because what was that one SLA printer that we looked at? They were doing a bunch of different little miniatures at one of the trade shows.
Moonray down at the Inside 3D Printing Conference in Santa Clara last November, September, somewhere
October.
in there. October.
Split the difference.
Oh, there we go. Somewhere in those 3 months. They had a lot of really nice miniatures. I mean, they were like, they had a little not Ariel, but who's the guy with the Triton?
I know who you're talking
Poseidon.
about.
Yeah, Poseidon. They had like a little Poseidon. I don't even know if that's Ariel. Whatever.
No. I mean, that Poseidon is one, but
Poseidon
you're
is
thinking
who?
of but you're thinking of the one from The Little Mermaid.
Well, yeah, but I'm still thinking of the character with the Triton.
No, who's the?
I can't think of his name anymore.
We're just gonna say
All the Disney
it's
fans.
He's
Poseidon.
King
getting
King
mad at me
something.
now.
It's Poseidon.
King Triton.
Okay.
Triton.
Well,
It was King Triton.
Sure.
So anyway, they had a little merman with a stick. Merman with a stick.
with a miniature fork.
Yeah.
And the detail on it was incredible. So, I mean, I'd like to get a Moonray one in, and DWS Labs is another one that we just saw at CES.
I know which model you're talking about, and you're right, that is Poseidon.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I just the last 30 seconds. I just
Points!
I'm winning. I'm doing it.
Todd, you're behind.
Mom, be so proud of me.
We're gonna have instead of at midnight at Fargo.
All right, DWS Labs. Yeah, that was it's a nice printer.
Well, yeah.
Is that the one with the round?
Yeah,
is that the one with the round
X-Fab.
build plate?
Oh yeah, because it has a round build plate. It's 8 inches, where like I think the Form Labs is like 4 inches square.
It's like 6,
Is it
5
6?
or
Is it
6.
Okay,
or
well,
6.
we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and go 5. Autodesk is really small, but I mean it's like for jewelry.
Theirs is really precise.
And the Projet 1200 is really small. Again, that's designed for jewelry. More specifically, that's who it's marketed towards.
Mm-hmm.
And so the DWS ones we saw at CES were really, I'm really excited about those because those have a bunch of, like a handful of different resins you can use. But the Moonray one was really, like, got to see some of their parts, and that's pretty much what they had was a bunch of miniatures. And they're just beautiful parts.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to that X-Fab because that's not out yet. I think the Sprint Ray, the Moonray stuff, they're sort of coming out. Like they have one model.
Kickstarter's going to start.
Okay, they have one model out, I think, and they're doing a new model.
I know their Moonray is going to start. I think hit Kickstarter here in the next probably month or two because I follow, or you follow them on Facebook. I think I saw.
Yeah.
I just looked at their Facebook. They're just doing their whatchamacallit.
Oh, never mind. I thought that was a different truck outside.
No,
I saw yellow.
No,
that's more of a rust.
That is a rust yellow,
a rust white.
Sorry, we have a window off to our side.
Oh. Giving us all that natural light. It's cloudy, so we've got a nice diffuse.
Well, at least it's not snowing like it was in Minneapolis. But anyway,
it's like they got 9
we keep
inches
missing
there.
it somehow. I'm really happy about
at
that.
least
That's just fine with me.
That means I can go skateboarding.
So like SLA printers. So
Moonray's one.
Are you done?
Well, yeah, because I mean, there's
Jake, are you done? Have you finished yet?
Minus points. You're back at 0.
No more for you.
More or less for tabletop gaming with the
yeah.
miniatures, people would want more like an SLA style.
Well, you'd want that, and
it's a little expensive these days, like for a hobbyist.
I mean, like between $4,000 and $6,000 is where you're.
It's getting more affordable.
Well, and I think like for doing scenery, FDM is good.
Definitely.
But if you're doing the actual, but if you're doing like the actual miniature itself,
detail.
like the figurine or like a little vehicle model, I mean, SLA is going to be the way to go. So, sort of related to SLA, this last week, people, if you're listening to this podcast, it's very likely that you've either seen this TED Talk or you've seen someone on Facebook or some of your non-3D printing news outlets posting about this. So there's a company out there called Carbon3D. It's been in stealth mode, I guess, for the last 2 years. People working on a new product. It has $41 million in funding, and then they just released news of their product, or they didn't release it, but they announced it. And it's called it's a new type of 3D printing process called CLIP, continuous liquid
interface production.
I
made sure to write it down.
So it says that so there's a little bit of confusion about this. It's essentially SLA printing, but in SLA, so if you look at a Formlabs Form 1 Plus, the way that works, you have a tank of resin, and then you have a build platform that sinks itself down into it. So it basically goes down to the bottom of the tank, or close to the bottom of the tank, and then your build plate is coated with this resin, and then a DLP projector shoots light at it, so UV light, and it does the full frame, so it does the full build plate frame at the same time. But now what happens is that liquid resin, it's against like a Teflon build surface. Well, you need to get more liquid resin underneath it so you can put the next layer on so it can cure. So it has to do something called delamination. So it'll actually lift the build plate up, let that liquid resin infill underneath, then go back down, then harden again, go back, lift the build plate out, and repeat and repeat and repeat. But you end up losing a lot of time due to that. So what this clip process is, it has, instead of the build plate going down and when the resin cures, having it touching the bottom of the resin tank, it actually has a layer of resin that does not cure because oxygen. So the dead zone. So it's like
oxygen membrane.
Yeah. So think of it like just liquid that does not get cured when the UV light hits it because there's oxygen present. Because the build plate or the bottom of the tank it's like an oxygen permeable glass. So it lets oxygen through, but it doesn't let the liquid through. So you have this oxygen touching the liquid, so it keeps it liquid. So the UV light doesn't cure it. So now, instead of having to go and do the delamination process for each layer, it just does layer, 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 and it says
twice as fast.
Right. Well, it says that. They say that they don't build in layers. Well, that's bull. They build in layers because if you think about it, because your image, you have different frames. Like in the image that gets projected through the DLP projector and the light that hits the resin, it's frame by frame. One frame at a time.
This one just looks more. It looks more like video rather than a flip book.
Right. And so there's a TED Talk, and keep in mind a TED Talk is about 10 minutes long, and he starts this process about a minute or so into it, and. So I'd seen the videos on YouTube showing this printing process, and it said, it's accelerated 7 times. It had the video sped up 7 times. So I'm like, okay, well, they did some sort of manipulation. There's no way it prints that fast in real time. Well, then you watch the TED Talk, and they have the printer up on stage. Well, because here's the other thing. I thought, they show a little polyhedron things, like a ball, about the size of a tennis ball, maybe a little bit smaller. Yeah, so it's about the size of what I'm holding in my hand. So think of it like the size of 2 golf balls if you merge them together.
A smaller tennis ball.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, maybe in the video, maybe it's just a really small build area like the Autodesk printer or the ProJet 1200 where it's only 1 inch by 1 inch. But no, they show this up on stage printing in real time, and the print finishes before the TED Talk is done. So I mean, over the course of
6 minutes and 45 seconds.
yeah, 6 minutes and
That's
45
crazy.
seconds, it prints the object. And I'm sure there's some post-processing that still needs to go on. It is still an SLA type of
supports and
process.
whatnot.
Well, you need to rinse it off. You need to soak it in isopropyl alcohol. But even that, like you take that out of the equation, I mean, it. When they say 20 to 100 times faster than standard 3D printing, they're not kidding.
Yeah.
It's not an exaggeration. It's
It's good.
actual.
It's really good quality too.
Yeah.
Because you don't have
Yeah.
all that stop and go.
Yeah, because I mean, SLA as
There's
it
no
is
lamination.
gives a really nice surface finish, but this is even nicer than some of the nicest SLA prints out there.
It'd be a lot less polishing necessary to get that finish that you want.
Well, right.
It essentially becomes a solid part when it's finished. There's no laminations that you have to worry about. So if
It's a
you put it
stronger
under
part,
stress,
too.
it's a stronger part. Yeah.
You won't see. Yeah, you won't see the layering like you
I
often
mean,
see.
so I mean, this thing is incredible. They have not released a price. They have not announced a release date. So I'm sure it's still going to be another year out. I'm sure it's going to be over $6,000 or six. I mean, but even if it comes out and it's a $6,000 3D printer, well, the Autodesk 3D printer is $6,000, has a smaller build area and prints slower. Even if this printer is a $10,000 printer, it's still pretty. I mean, to me, it's worth
Pretty much any SLA printer right now is just kind of like any manufacturer is kind of, crapping their pants a little bit.
Yeah.
Because these parts, I mean, the thing with them, since they don't have that lamination weakness and all of that, you can use these. I mean, parts can come off of this thing and then go right into
and the other
manufacturing.
And the other thing is now you don't have some of the other limitations that you had with other resins. Like it's pretty much you've got the entire. If there's any type of photopolymer, you can use any type of photopolymer in this printer. I mean, it's just. I'm not a chemical engineer, so I don't fully understand
and we
what
don't
that
play
means.
one on TV.
No, we don't. No, we don't. But pretty much you take
high-quality
any
H2O.
type of photopolymer, and it's going to be able to be used in this 3D printing process. So I mean, just the material breadth that you're going to have access to with this printer is nuts. It's nuts.
Well, it's a game changer. I mean, because now instead of waiting hours, you can wait minutes.
You can have your
for
client
something.
come in, print the thing. I mean, assuming that assuming everything's set up properly, but 10 minutes.
Well, and
depending on what they have.
I think their ultimate goal for this thing is to have it actually in manufacturing environments producing parts.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
either that or that or like a dental lab. Could you imagine? I mean, it's having it made right there. And again, there's still post processing. I'm sure it still needs to go in a UV cure chamber. But
Hey, you need a retainer? Well, how about you go grab a coffee out in our coffee bar?
Yeah.
Wait for play a couple games on the PS3 or PS4 now, whatever. Sorry, it's PS3 or 2 when I was
Whatever.
in dental. And then come back and we'll try this on.
Atari when I was little. So
yeah,
I have 2 of those. And I still cannot figure out E.T.
So if you have not,
that was a notoriously terribly made game.
So if you have not seen the TED Talk or have not seen, just go right now. Stop what you're doing. Go to YouTube. After you're
We'll
done,
put a link.
after you're
Eric,
done,
over here.
after you're done
Everywhere
watching
on
this,
here flashing. there's
after
a
you're
link.
done watching and listening to this, go look at the Carbon3D.
Yeah, Carbon3D. I don't think there's a
Carbon
space in
3D
that.
TED Talk. Yeah, no space in between Carbon3D. Just Carbon3D TED. It's going to be the first thing that pops up.
If you look up Carbon3D printer, you're gonna find
FDM
Like
one.
like carbon fiber filament, which
That's
I
another
won't
topic.
I won't get into that.
yeah, I know I know the story.
But
Well,
yeah.
with that's
I mean,
kind of the reason.
long story short, we had kind of thought that 3D printing was not at a stalemate as far as advancing, but it just goes to show that all
At a
the
plateau for at least the moment.
it goes to show that
Yeah.
all the investment dollars that have been thrown at 3D printing in the last 5 years are. I mean, you're going to start seeing this stuff come to fruition. It's
not
going
all
to
just
be
Kickstarter FDM machines.
yeah.
It's not college engineers in their dorm room saying, "Oh, we can do this. We can put this kit together and sell it." It's actual businesses and actual people with years of experience doing something.
Their website looks incredible too. I don't know how they got the shots of some of the prints happening, but they're so nice. And then they have like the chemical reaction things. Whoa. If you've ever seen the Cosmos on Sci-Fi or
Fox.
I don't
wasn't
remember
Fox.
whatever
It was
channel.
on
It was
Fox.
probably
It
on
was on
Nat
Fox.
Geo too. I'm thinking.
We're telling you it's on Fox. It
Okay,
was on
I know.
Fox.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
No points.
Neil deGrasse Tyson's the man.
Yeah.
And
no.
it was a very enjoyable series to watch.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note, on behalf of Eric, Jake, Todd, and myself, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Like I said, please go look at that Carbon3D video. It's pretty cool. If you're already if you're not already following us, definitely subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit us up on all the different social media channels.
Hit that button. Hit the subscribe button.
Facebook, Facebook, Twitter.
We hit 100
Even Google Plus.
100 followers on Instagram.
Even Google Plus.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, we're what, like 160 for subscribers?
Yeah.
We're doing all right.
165 for YouTube. So.
We try, yeah.
So again, on behalf of all of us, thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, let's explain the softball, then we'll move on.
Okay, so I'm an avid softball player. I've been playing softball for probably 5 or 6 years. So naturally, Ben brought up durability testing. So the first thing that came to mind for me was print balls. Okay, that's okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right, that sounds good.
Well,
We'll call them spheres.
Today?
Spheres. Yeah, they're never gonna want me back on this again.